Hello everybody, this is Tyler with Truffle Shuffle. I'm going to be your chef for today during this class. And so today is our Chicago style deep dish pizza, okay, which I know is going to be incredibly delicious. I personally love Chicago style deep dish pizza. For me, my first time having Chicago style pizza was actually in Providence, Rhode Island, which sounds very strange. But honestly, the first time that I tasted it, it was the first time seeing pizza in that kind of format, and I really love Chicago style deep dish pizza, and I've had a real pleasure kind of doing the recipe testing behind this dish in order to lock in a recipe that I think you all are going to really like out there. Okay, so with these classes, right, because this is pre-recorded, feel free, go ahead, fast forward, right, rewind, stop, flip it, right, reverse it, any of those items that you would like to do. But with that, this dish is pretty straightforward. We really wanted to elevate it by making some of our own sausage, right? Some fresh, beautiful sausage using Korabuta pork. Okay, so that's going to be really exciting. We have Chef Ian's Grandma Nona's recipe for tomato sauce. Okay, and we add a little bit of chopped truffle to it because we can, right? So with that, you want to go ahead, you want to bust out that recipe card, all right? And I like to just go over the mise en place and the ingredients super quick. Mise en place is all the equipment we're going to need, right? It literally translates to everything in place, so all those things, right, fall under that category. And then the ingredients, I just like to kind of familiarize everyone with the same things that I'm looking at over here, okay? So first things first, with our mise en place, right, we have a cutting board, all right, which I have all my ingredients laid out on this beautiful cutting board over here. Okay, we also have a 1/4 cup measure, which I sent all of you a little homework video to do beforehand, right? You want to have that pizza dough looking nice and beautiful at this stage, nicely proofed, okay? And so at this point, my 1/4 cup of flour, or my 1/4 cup measure, is filled with flour, right? So you want to put that off to the side. All right. We will also need a nice large saute pan, okay, as well as a cast iron pan. All right, I'm using a 12-inch cast iron pan today, so keep that in mind as we're doing this recipe. If you have a smaller cast iron pan, you're gonna have a little more dough than you need, right? But you can re-roll any extra dough that you have and use again, right? We also have that first mixing bowl that my dough is in. I got my second mixing bowl right here. It's gonna be for our sausage. We got our strainer, right, to drain off that sausage fat by the time we get there. All right. Also have a beautiful cheese grater and a rolling pin. All right. After that, we got ourselves a nice little metal spatula over here. Okay. Excellent. And if you'd like, you can use a bench scraper for this recipe as well. Okay. So that is all of our mise en place that we will need over here. Next, I'm just going to go through our ingredients just to kind of familiarize everyone, right? So this is our delicious Chef Ian's Grandma Nona's signature recipe, right? You guys are going to love it. Again, we add a little chopped truffle to it because we're allowed to here at Truffle Shuffle do those types of things. We also got our olive oil, which I've got half of it removed at this stage because, again, I used it to make my dough. Some beautiful Korabuta pork, right? Korabuta pork, it's like the Wagyu beef of pork. It's also known as Berkshire, right? It's the same breed of pig, but it's a really, really beautiful pork. It's got a great meat content, fat content, very flavorful, really, really nice, and so I'm psyched to share this with all of you. We got a packet of our sausage seasoning mix, okay, to make it Italiano style, right? We got some Parmesan cheese, okay? Some beautiful button mushrooms, all right? We got a little bit of mozzarella, right? Some part moisture mozzarella. You don't necessarily want to use fresh mozzarella for this because it can tend to curdle if it gets too hot. Fresh mozzarella will, but the lower moisture mozzarella doesn't do the same thing. It gets nice and stringy, okay? And so, last but not least, over here, we got a packet of that beautiful Balinese truffle salt. All right. Boom. So, that is our mise en place and our ingredients, okay? And so I know many of you out there are cooking at home. We're not cooking live, but we still want to keep it interactive, right? So if you got that glass of wine out there, go ahead, grab it. If you got cocktails, if you got kids, tell them to come into the kitchen, all right? Give them a project, and then you can enjoy that cocktail, right? But regardless, I would love to see a thumbs up if you're ready to get cooking out there, all right? Perfect. All right, excellent. I got DJ Nick in the house with me as well, so he's gonna be my expert sidekick as we go through this, and he is, for better or for worse, responsible for the sound effects. So there you go, all those. So with that, we're gonna go right down to our prep during our class section, right? Because we already have that dough made, right? Super important. If you haven't made that dough yet, make sure to check out our video, right, for how to make the Chicago style dough. But we go right to our prep during our class. First thing we're gonna do, right, step one is to preheat the oven. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, preheat my oven. Perfect. I'm gonna get my oven preheated, right? We're gonna heat it up real hot, right? In New England, we call this a wicked hot temperature, 450 degrees Fahrenheit, right? And you wanna make sure the rack of your oven is in the center, okay? It's really helpful for that because every oven has natural heat zones, right? And so if you place the rack right in the center of your oven, you're not getting any hot spots from the top or the bottom or the sides, right? We're getting very even heat. So even if it's a convectional oven or a convection oven or a conventional oven, right? Still go 450, all right? The second step, we're gonna come over here, we're gonna grate up our mozzarella, okay? So go ahead, grab this mozzarella. Go ahead, remove that from the packaging, all right? And I'm gonna go ahead and grab my cheese grater, right? I'm gonna use the large hole side of this cheese grater over here. And I'm just gonna come right down that cheese grater, right? And grate it up, okay? So, we want to make sure to grate this entire piece of cheese, all right? If you need to get any taste testers along the way, any snack attacks, right, feel free to do so. It's delicious. Wow. So, keep grating away. Again, I like using part skim mozzarella for this. Gives us that stringiness. We can get it really hot, right? And that's the beauty of the Chicago style pizza, right? Is we're making that pie, right? And so the cheese is actually going to go underneath the sauce, the mozzarella cheese that is. The sauce is going to go on top, and then we're going to put a little Parmesan on top of there for that ultimate experience, okay? So as you're grating that cheese, if you need to move it off to the side from time to time, feel free to do so, right? And so, nice. I'm almost there on grating my cheese. And the thing is with cheese that's very interesting, the colder the cheese is, the faster it actually is to grate, right? Because that's just the way it works. The colder it is, the more firm the proteins and fats are, right? And then the more firm something is, the easier it is to cut the majority of the time, right? So come in here, grate the rest of it. When you get to the bottom, you can either choose to grate your fingertips or you can choose snack life. All right, well. So I'm gonna come over here, get my cheese into a nice little bowl, right? A nice little bowl, small plate, something like that. Nice. Beautiful. And all we're going to do is come over here and just set that cheese off to the side. All right, see that? Boom. Go ahead, set that cheese off to the side. So, this is my mozzarella cheese over here. Next, we're going to get to making our sausage, right? So, I'm going to grab my mixing bowl. I'm gonna grab my ground pork, okay? And you can use a glove if you'd like to for this step, right? Some people like using gloves with working with raw meat. You can feel free to do so. I'm not gonna do that, but again, if you like to do that, I will not judge whatsoever, right? So come over here, transfer that meat into that mixing bowl. All right. And then what we're gonna do is come over here. We're gonna add a pinch of Balinese truffle salt. Okay, so we're not gonna use all of it, but just one pinch. All right, so come in here. Right, a little bit into my hand. Okay, make sure you're seasoning from as high as possible, because the higher that you season from, the better the food tastes. Scientifically proven. All right, and I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna get this truffle sausage seasoning mix in here. All right, so it's got a little bit of our truffle powder in there, a little bit of fennel seed, right? A little bit of sugar, a little bit of chili flake, okay? And so what I like to do is I like to use my hand to mix this up, right? Because this is really how you make sure everything is thoroughly mixed, right? So come in here, right? And just press that meat together, right? You can do it through your fingers, right? You can use a spatula for this if you'd like, but I like to use my hand. And you don't necessarily want to over mix this sausage too much, because the heat of your hand can actually start to melt that fat down a little and can change the texture, right? But just come over here, get it all mixed up, right? Nice. And there you have it. We got our beautiful truffle Italian sausage over here mixture. All right. So what I'm gonna do is get this truffle sausage cooking. Okay, I'm gonna take 1 second. I'm gonna wash my hands, right? And then I'm gonna be back here in just a moment. All right. So I got my hands nice and clean over here, right? Now I'm gonna crumble this sausage mixture into my pan, okay? And this is gonna make more sausage than you might want in your pizza, right? But I'm not stopping you if you're gonna put all of it in there. But I like to make sure that we send you enough, right? I work backwards from main size portions, right? That way we make sure everyone is happy. So I'm gonna come over here, right? I'm gonna heat up my large saute pan to about medium-high heat. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of olive oil, okay? Just a little bit. And so what we're gonna do here is we're gonna cook our sausage, right? We wanna make sure the sausage is cooked before it goes in the pizza, because anytime you put raw meat on a pizza, it's gonna let out juices and fat as it cooks. And that's gonna negatively affect the texture of the pizza itself. So I want to do this relatively quickly, okay? So a little bit of olive oil in our pan, just heat it up for about a minute or so, just till it starts to get a little bit hot, right? And what I'm gonna do is come in here and just crumble my sausage into my pan, right? So I like to just take some pieces of that sausage meat, right? Lay them down in my pan over here. So I'm gonna keep crumbling this sausage into my pan over here, right? And all we're looking to do is just cook it up into nice little chunks, right? So you can always break it up a little bit more with your spoon if you need to, okay? And I wanna do it in one layer, okay? I don't wanna overcrowd my pan. And so my pan is only big enough to cook about half of this sausage, right? If you got a larger pan, you can cook it all at once, but I'm just gonna go ahead and cook half of this sausage for now, and the rest of it I'll cook a little bit later. You can use this sausage, you know, in a lot of things. Make a little kale soup out of it, right? A little sausage and kale soup. It'll be absolutely delicious, all right? But I'm just gonna crumble these guys in over here. As my sausage is cooking over here, I want to move it around, okay? So I just want to come over here, just kind of flip it over, okay? So you got those nice little pieces of that sausage. You can kind of continue breaking it up a little bit if you'd like, right? Oh, beautiful. Nice. And so I do want to make sure that the sausage is cooked through all the way, right? I'm not super concerned if the, I'm not super concerned whether or not the sausage is like really, really brown or not. I just want a little bit of browning on there, right? As you can see right here, and that's perfect. My sausage over here is cooked all the way through, right? It's browned up. You don't necessarily need to hammer this sausage and get it super, super, super crazy cooked, right? Because I don't want my sausage to shrink down to nothing, right? So I'm just coming through here, making sure it's broken up into nice small pieces, okay? And make sure you come in here and taste one. It's gonna be delicious, right? Mmm. Wow. You guys are going to love that. So, at this stage, I want to drain my sausage because I don't want that excess fat that's in that pan to make it into my pizza. So just come over here. I like to place my strainer on top of that bowl, right? It's super simple. Just get it out of the pan, okay? And so, again, this is half of my sausage right now. I'm going to roll into the rest of this pre-recorded class just using this, but if you want to cook all that sausage, feel free. So, at this stage, we've got that beautiful mozzarella cheese, right? Sliced up. We got our sausage cooked, okay? The next item we got to do over here is slice our mushrooms, and then we're ready to roll and start cooking this pizza over there, okay? So, if you're ready to get into it, I would love to see a thumbs up out there, all right? All right, so now we're over here, step 6 in our recipe. We're gonna wash and cut our button mushrooms, right? So I just like to come over here. I got a bowl of warm water, right? And I'm just gonna very gently rinse my button mushrooms. I know there's a lot of like thought processes behind washing mushrooms. I know some people are very have a very strong opinion of it. But the way I was taught, right, is that as long as you wash the mushrooms and then you immediately use them, you will not negatively affect the mushroom, okay? It's when you wash the mushrooms and then you let them sit in your fridge for a couple days, then they start to break down a little bit, okay? So, just come over here, right? Get those mushrooms in that bowl, all right? And then I just like to transfer them to a little piece of paper towel, right? Just roll them around a little bit just to make sure they're nice and dry, okay? And so over here, super simple. We're just gonna slice up these mushrooms, okay? So I'm gonna grab a little plate for my finished, and then I'm just gonna come over here, cut that mushroom in half, and then lay the cut side down on my cutting board, right? And I am going to use the stem. I know some people don't, but the way button mushrooms are grown, especially in nowadays food method of growing them, right? The stem is nice and tender, right? So I like to come in here, curl my fingers in, right? Slice those mushrooms about 1/8 of an inch thick, okay? So, right, just come through here. Slice all those mushrooms up, okay? And again, pizza, like any style of cooking, is the majority of it is the mise en place, it is the prep, right? So as long as you have your mushrooms cut, your mozzarella grated, right, your tomato sauce made, all these other things, as long as you have them all lined up, the making of the pizza is very, very simple, okay? So, over here, I'm gonna transfer these mushrooms onto my plate, All right, or a small bowl. Boom. I'm just gonna lay them off to the side. Okay. So at this point, sausage is cooked, right? Mozzarella is grated. Mushrooms are sliced, right? Now we need to roll out our actual dough. So just come over here, take that dough, okay? Take that dough and place it onto your work surface, all right? And you'll see that dough has proofed up. It's looking really nice. And now I'm ready to roll it out, right? So this is step 7, okay, in our recipe. And so what I want you to do is go ahead, grab a little bit of that bench flour. Just sprinkle a little bit of bench flour down, right? Lay that dough down and a little bit on top, okay? And kind of rub it in a little bit, all right? And then what we want to do is we want to roll this dough larger than this pan by at least 1 inch to 2 inches, right? So the best way to do that is to lay your rolling pin down, just lightly roll it, right? Give it a quarter turn, right? You can flip it over. If it starts to stick, you can always add just a little bit more flour, okay? You can roll it, right? And turn it and roll it. And you don't even necessarily have to use a rolling pin, right? For this step in the recipe, right? Like if you're making like hand tossed pizza, you don't necessarily need to do that at all. But for consistency's sake, I'm gonna use it, right? So I'm gonna come in here, a little bit more flour. But again, I'm just over here rolling out this dough. And you really want the dough to be under 1/2 inch thick, right? Like 2/3 of an inch thick, maybe. Or sorry, I mean 1/3 of an inch thick, right? You don't want it to be too thick, right? But you also don't want it to be too thin. So this stage, right? I'm just leaving it on one side, kind of hitting it from those different angles, right? Beautiful. All right, so you can see over here, my dough is at least 1 inch or 2 bigger than my pan. And that's exactly what I want. So I'm gonna leave it this big because we can always come back through and kind of trim the dough a little bit if we want to, right? But basically at this stage, we're gonna move it over here. What I like to do is kind of roll my dough up in my rolling pin, right? Almost like pie dough, kind of similar. Lay that pan down, okay? And I just want to place the rest of that olive oil into that pan, right? And really rub it around in that pan to make sure every little crevice is coated in that olive oil, okay? So now that we got that going, come back through here and very gently just go ahead and lay that dough on top, right? So now with your hands, you just come back through here, right? And we're just gonna press the dough into our space over here, right? And so we basically want the dough to be flush with the edge of our cast iron, right? So once we get to this bit over here, I just like to fold it, and if you need to trim it, right, you can always use a knife and go ahead and do that. That's just fine. Excellent. So you all can see over here, got this dough beautifully laid into our cast iron pan. And I really like just take 1 second, just kind of make sure all the dough is spread out nice and evenly, right? Get any little bumps going on over there, okay? And so, what you can do over here too is just take a fork and just kind of prick it just a little bit, right? That way it doesn't puff up too much as it's cooking. All right, so now we just gotta build our pizza. So I like to go a little bit of cheese down first, all right? So sprinkle some of that cheese around. Boom. Nice. A little bit of that cheese in there, okay? And then we're gonna come over here and add our sausage. Perfect. And then I'm gonna come back over here, add some more mozzarella cheese. I really like having that nice cheesy layer on a Chicago style deep dish pizza.
Yeah.
Okay. Boom. Nice. And then over the top of this, we're going to go ahead and add Ian's Graminonas, right? Tomato sauce. And so I like to just kind of use a spoon to help me out as I do this. Okay, that way you spread that sauce all over that pizza. All right. Making sure that every little crevice is filled in. Boom. All right, and then you come through here, spread that tomato sauce around on top. All right, just making sure it's nice and even. Okay. All right, so as you can see over here, we got our tomato sauce, right? We got our pizza. Okay, even if you get a little bit of sauce inside that pizza, that's just fine. And then what I like to do is come over here, lay those mushrooms out, right, all over the top of those that pizza. All right, boom. Oh, and then I'm just gonna come over the top with this cheese grater. Okay, and hit it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, right? That way we get that nice contrast, okay? So, come back over the top. That beautiful Parmigiano. Right? And so, I'm just going to start with half at first. Right, once it comes out, I might want to add a little bit more afterwards, but I'm just going to start with half of that cheese just to get started over here. All right, so I got my pizza ready to go over here. I'm just going to clean it up real quick so you can check out how beautiful this pizza is looking. We're gonna get this guy in the oven, 450 degrees, right? It's gonna take about 30 to 35 minutes to cook this pizza, right? So we're gonna turn it halfway through. Make sure you keep an eye on it, all right? But this guy's ready to go into the oven, and I'll see you here in 35 minutes. this pizza is ready to go, okay? And it is looking delicious, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna grab a little landing zone for me right here, and I'm gonna grab this out of the oven so you guys can check it out, okay? Check this out. Boom! There you have it. We got that beautiful Chicago-style deep dish pizza, okay? With our truffle Italian sausage, right? Mushrooms, Ian's Grandma Nona's truffle tomato sauce, right? As well as, you know, you guys just made pizza dough from start to finish, right? We made that pizza, we built it. So I would wait a couple minutes before you dive in because it's gonna be super hot right now. But when you do, I hope you thoroughly enjoy it. I've had such a pleasure getting to cook with all of you today, and thank you so much for allowing me to spend some time with all of you. So with that, I would love to hear how you feel about this pizza, so please hit us up on Instagram, tag us at truffleshuffle_SF. We want to see how your dishes turn out. But with that, enjoy that pizza. We'd love to cook with you again on some of our future classes. We got a lot of great stuff lined up. But with that, enjoy the rest of your day and hope to see you again soon. Thank you, everyone.